I first met Rupert on the skinhead circuit, and we started hanging out down Cleo's on a Thursday night. That was skinhead night, among other things, and it grew from there. And here you can see this would be our earliest known photograph together, along with Phil Knight's. This was on a Bell coach, and we were just about to leave for the C&D rally down in Brixton, London. So that was our first outing, I suppose, along with Phil, and my mate John Sharman took the photograph. I'd have been 19 along with Phil, and Rupert would have been a mere 18 years old. While there, we hooked up with Kerry German, and we went to the gig. So at the gig, there was Hazel O'Connor. They were all introduced by the Green Nigel at the time, that little guy. Who else? There was Paul Weller, who then previously was from the Jam, and he turned up on stage wearing this lovely bright shirt, and a skinhead threw a pile of mud at him, basically, and he walked off after one number. We also had Madness. Madness were obviously the best. They're what we went there for in the first place. And there's a couple other bands, I can't remember who they were. That was really it with Brixton, apart from one other memory which I'll share. Now, here you can see we're outside a pub in Brixton looking rather miserable for ourselves. Rupert actually took this photograph. We were trying to get in all sorts of pubs, and there was lots of black people on the door saying, "You're not coming in here, you're not coming in here." And we started to get really fed up. We couldn't go in any of the shops. We suddenly realised it was the colour of our skin. Even though we weren't racist, we were suddenly feeling we were racist against. Hence the moody look. And in this photograph, look, we just looked absolutely miserable. And that was the idea of it, just to say, look, we're fed up with all of this. Now, from this, we're starting to get a little bit boiled over, all three of us being in Brixton and feeling we were being racist against. I vividly remember standing at this bus stop, and this old lady, as black as the ace of spades, she was, and that was her granddaughter, and they just started talking to us, and it was sweet as. And after that, we had that same opinion when we got back to the coach, that, it was just most probably because we were a very small minority, and they just didn't want to get us in a pub getting in trouble with some of the youngsters there. So we walked away quite happily, and I still have that vivid memory of that chat with that sweet old lady. And that was our Brixton trip, and was probably our first outing together as a 19 and an 18-year-old. Now, why am I showing a photograph of this? So Rupert had a scooter very similar to this, except it was a 250. I couldn't find one, but you just see that rear light, and that's sort of what rings a bell. It was bloody horrible. We were still on scooters, and he had that, and he come around my house on a bloody horrible old enduro bike. But I've been out on the back of that a few times. We went to Norwich once, and he was working for Norwich Union as a junior, and we ended up going to a party there one lunchtime, and then coming home on all the back roads, because he was drunk as a lord and I was drunk as a lord on the back of his bike. So every time we see a bike like that, it always does remind me of Rupert, and that's a very retro bike now, eh? Here you can see Rupert, bless him, and Caps Jenner. Now, Caps Jenner lived on the same estate as me, which I previously mentioned in a different post. But this is Great Yarmouth Scooter Rally. I'm sort of between being a skinhead and maybe a little bit of a punk. And Rupert is still a staunch skinhead, and there's Capsy just being Capsy as usual. I remember that day as well. We went round and had a look at the scooters. We went in Capsy's dad's car, I believe, which Capsy borrowed, and that was a bit of a fun day out. I think that photograph sort of basically summed out our day up in Yarmouth, and that would have been 1983. So yeah, fond memories of that day, I must say, apart from the haircut, of course. Now the Fighting Cocks became an important part of our lives in, I think it was about 1984. We started hanging out there. Rupert first introduced me to a couple of Wild Bunch, and that's how I sort of got inducted into these mad people. And then we would just, me, Cambo and himself would hang out here Monday to Thursday every night. We'd be around the dartboard messing around, any pub challenges. A guy at the time, I think Pat was his name, that owned it. So we had plenty of evenings then, was probably for about a year until we went to a different pub. And that's when I think Rupert started to not hang out with us quite so much, and you just see him turn up on the Wild Bunch on the odd Friday here and there, and he just started to go off the scene a little bit. So Rupert would come and go in and out of the scene with us every now and then, and I can honestly say this 1986, this was taken Christmas Eve. I think that was the last time he really came out with all of us, you know. I don't know what happened. I know I had a falling out with him and a few words here and there. We just drifted as apart as some people do. So there he is with Cambo, which looks like the Plough and Sail. This would be upstairs, the Harbour Hotel or whatever it's called now upstairs. And that's a bit of a sad photograph actually, with Stuart Ross. I can see John Butler in the background to the right. Yeah, that was pretty sad there, and but that was a good Christmas lunchtime, and this is Christmas Eve out on the town, and this was something I took outside the wherry. Now, this was probably the last photograph I ever took of Rupert, and his bits hanging out with a few of the gang. Yeah, he was a bit of a strange character. If you got close to him, you knew he was a troubled boy even back then. I won't say too much more on him, apart from I did meet up with him once more. He rang me up, and this would have been 1988, and he was getting heavy into bodybuilding. He said, "Do you want to come and do a workout?" So I went down to Waveney Sports Centre, and we had a workout, and we did have a good chat. We had a man sauna there, and I still remember the conversation just quite vividly, that, you know, we like different things now, different girls, and that was a big part of our problem, or his problem with girls. And yeah, we just sort of made up, but we never really saw each other. And then I literally saw him in 1991 down St Peter's Road. I was walking one direction, he was in the other, and he stopped to say hello. He was wearing his own leather jacket that he used to wear on that motorbike, and he said he I don't know, he was doing steroids or something, he said, and he just got big and things went wrong, as so many things do when you take the juice. And I offered him to come round and have a chat and a cup of tea. I gave him my address and never saw him again. That was the last time, apart from when he popped up on Facebook. And I can honestly say, it was right weird, about 6 weeks ago, he liked a photo on my Facebook feed, which was quite random considering we're actually not friends on Facebook, but it seemed he'd been through a lot of the photographs of my stuff from them days, and there was one particular one he liked, and I can't find it because his account's been cancelled obviously, and I can't remember what it was. But yeah, that would be Rupert for me. Sort of a bittersweet one, I suppose, and same with a few other people. But there was a few happy memories in there, especially when we were skinheads and we were in our late teens, early 20s. We did have some real good laughs. It was just about fun back then, eh? And he had his good moments. And it's a shame, you know, that anyone you know ends up like that. I've nearly been down that road myself in the early 90s, and all I can say on the matter is you've got to talk to people. And it's a shame that to feel that he was in Texas and felt quite alone, that he did what he did. But I'll look at the fond memories that we had back then, and he did introduce me to the Wild Bunch. I'll always thank him for that, even though I knew half of them anyway. But I hope you're at peace now, my friend. And what can I say? Talk to people. Talk. So finally, this is for you, Rupert. Bound from the Pubs. I know you like this song, and it featured many times in our lives as a skinhead, not getting in pubs, and then again when we were the Wild Bunch. So this one's for you, Rupert.
Back for the pubs, we don't like your fucks. cheers like drums. Bang from the pubs. Bang from the pubs. Bang from the pubs. Bang for the pubs, go on your way. Bang from the pubs. Bang for the pubs, no punks I say. Bang from the pubs. Bang for the pubs, you lot get it.